Hello, welcome back to Call Clutter Fairy, where I help you get clutter-free so that you can live stress-free. This Sunday I was working in my garage trying to clean up my little craft area, and I was getting frustrated because I use a lot of different types of paper in my printer and they don't fit in a little tiny sorter that I have, so I went on Amazon and I found this. And as I was looking at it thinking, I don't want to spend $30 on that, I was thinking it already looked like my shelves, which I love, but it also looked like foam core. So I got in my car, I ran to the Dollar Tree, and I got 4 sheets. $4, and I built this. I was so tickled and proud of myself. So as you're watching my how-to, please don't laugh at me because I genuinely thought that I had just come up with the greatest idea in the world. So when it was all done and then I started researching to see if, it would be something you guys would want to see, I realized that there are a slew of videos out there. Apparently this was a really popular idea just a couple of years ago. So this is not my original idea, even though I thought I had discovered America. So I don't even know how to give credit because there are so many videos out there, but I genuinely did think that this was a new idea for myself. So take some time, do some research. There are a ton, literally a ton of videos out there, but I still think that this is a phenomenal storage solution for you guys. So often you're asking, how do I store ribbon? How can I store stamps? How can I store XYZ? And I think if you organize your supplies and get them likes with likes, so get all of your paper cutters together, measure how wide it is, measure how deep it is, and you can customize your storage into bins using foam core like this. So I'm going to show you how I made this specific one for my own needs, and I also made sure to put together a downloadable sheet for you so that if you do want to duplicate this, you know how I did the cuts per each sheet of foam core so that you don't have a lot of waste. So without further ado, let's look. Alright, to make this paper storage that I'm coming up with, I got 4 sheets of the 29 by 20 foam core boards at the Dollar Tree, and I went through and did the configuration for this for storing my paper this way. Because the area that I'm going to be putting my paper, I'll have my printer here, and I only have a little bit of space for this paper organizer. So I want my paper to be landscape and pull it out this way. If you want it to be horizontal because you don't have a lot of shelf space, I will put together a different sheet. But the one that we are building right now is so that I can store my paper the narrow way. Now, I started putting together all these little cheat sheets and trying to figure out the maximum way to get the most out of my 4 sheets of foam core, and this was crazy, so I came up with the schematic for you guys, and I'll have that as a link to a download for you. This will be much easier, but basically it shows the exact measurements of each place on each board, and the gray is what will be a little bit of waste, which you can use that foam core for a different project. But this is going to be a 5-shelf paper storage. It'll be the full height of a foam core sheet, but you guys can adjust these measurements to whatever best fits your needs. So let's get started. So the first sheet that we're going to cut, and I have it marked on your schematic as sheet 1, but the first one that we're going to work on is 5 cuts. Now, if you don't have a square, I really suggest getting something similar to this if you're doing a lot of large cuts, especially on foam core. You guys, this really does make it simple. I don't even know what these run anymore because I've had this forever, but it does have the measurements on it, which makes it nice. It's heavy, so it doesn't move around a lot as you're trying to cut things. The other thing I recommend is have a sharp cutting tool, whether it's an X-Acto knife, a box cutter, a cutting blade, whatever it is. The sharper it is, the easier your cuts will be. I just caution you, please be careful. I don't want anybody leaving me a comment saying, Noreen, I cut myself because I was trying to do your project. That would break my heart. So the first cut that I'm going to do is 11 inches. So I'm going to have one coming this way, and it just so happens that I did this so that we wouldn't have overage. This is 20 inches wide, so I'm going to have 9 inches and 11 inches. So there's going to be very little waste on this first page. So the thing I like about using a square is as soon as I line it up to the edge, theoretically this should be an extremely straight line, which saves me from having to measure and mark and then draw a straight line to cut on. However, because these are Dollar Tree foam core boards, sometimes they're not very square. I want to show you a quick video while I was at the Dollar Tree, and when I got them home, they were all off by a 1/16 to 2/32 of an inch, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but if you're making a storage unit like this, you need them the same size. The other thing I noticed is some of them were very different in thickness. Some of them were a 1/2 inch thick, other ones were a little bit thinner, some of them were bowed, so just check the quality before you take these home on a project. Nothing would be more disappointing than find out that you have an issue simply because the board was warped. So with a sharp knife, this cuts like butter. Now, what I usually do when I'm using my square is I stop with the blade inside of the foam core, and I will slide down because, as you guys know, I'm a lazy girl, and I keep a icky, ugly piece of foam core underneath always, just so I don't cut the surface of my table. With the knife inside, I now flip, of course it wants to come out. I flip my square, line it up to the edge again, and then line it up to the line I've already cut. And I'm just going to double check because, again, since we're doing something with a cabinet, I want to make sure this is precise, so I'm going to make sure that this is at 11. And it was off just a hair. And now I can continue my cut. And that's my first cut. So the 11 inches will give me 3 shelves this way, and because this one is 9 inches, we're going to do them the 11.5 inches, or the 11 inches this way. So we're only going to have a tiny bit of waste on this. So I'm going to move my big heavy square out of the way, and because my knife was so sharp, it easily cut through the whole thing. So we're going to go for the one that is 9 inches first, and you guys, I've already messed up once, so this is my second time shooting. I'm getting a lot of weird shadows here too. Just make sure that you're cutting on the right one. So I got all excited in doing this for you, and I took my 9 inch and cut 9 inches. So I have some cute little 9x9 squares that I'll use as mounting for something else, but it was still frustrating. So double check before you start cutting, because there's nothing worse than messing up like that. So 11 inches is where I want to go with this. Line it up. Double check. 11 inches. 11 inches. And I'm only going to make 1 or 2 of these cuts because you guys don't need to see me cutting all of the foam core. I always think it's cute when you hear the fast forward music and you're going, I know how to cut paper, but thank you. But sometimes I think it's interesting to see the techniques that people use. So that's why I'm boring you with this momentary example of how I cut things, because you never know what you're going to learn. Okay, so that is 2 of my 3 shelves. This is the 11 inch, so I'm going to go ahead and cut the 9 inch segments. You don't need to watch me do that, so I will be right back. Alright, that was sheet 1, so now I have 5 pieces that are 9 by 11. And what was amazing about this is this, hello, come here. This was the only portion of waste from that sheet, so that's great. We can use this for something else. If you don't need it, discard it. Don't save things that you don't intend on using. But now I'm going on to the second sheet, and I will show you the measurements for that. Our second sheet is going to be the back of the storage unit. So it is going to be the full length, the full 29.5 inches, and it's going to be 9.5 inches because I want it to have the 1/4 of an inch on each side so that the sides, when I go to support it, will be around and it'll be a beautiful square on the outside. So hopefully the foam core doesn't lie to me, but I measured it and it was about right around 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this first one at 9.5 inches all the way down, and then I'll need a top and a bottom, which is going to be the 9 by 11 again, just like the shelves, but we're going to use this as the base and the top. So again, you don't need to watch me cut those, but I will be right back. Really quick, before I cut this, because these vary in thickness so much, really quick, I wanted to just test it to see if it's flush on the side here and on this side, does it match the piece that I'm cutting? And if it doesn't, adjust that way, because these are, I mean, these are off by millimeters and I would just rather check. So in this case, my measurement was right, but another piece of foam core that I checked was thicker. So before you do any cutting, just take the pieces that you're going to use and double check. All right, I am on my last cut, so my knife is just now starting to get dull. So it cut almost all the way through. Something you may not know, I did this when I did the dividers, is if you let it fold the natural way completely, then go back the opposite way and quickly fold it against itself, and it will snap very cleanly. All right, here's what it looks like. So this is the back piece that is 9.5 by the full length of the board, which is 29.5. And then I have two full lengths, 29.5 by 11. Basically what we're going to do is glue these into kind of a square. But I want to put in my shelves first. So what I'm going to do is glue one side and the back together so that I've got an L, and then I have a top and a bottom, so I have 5 shelves to divvy up within the space. So I'm going to go about every 5 inches with my glue gun and just start attaching the shelves. All right, the glue goes fast, so I'm going to try and show this to you as quickly as I can, but still trying to be precise. So this is the 9.5. Now our shelves are 9 inches, so this one has to sit so that it's taking up the space, and I don't know if you can see, but it is actually a little bit bowed now that I cut it. So I think I'm just going to go a little bit at a time so that I can get it as straight as possible, because I just want this to be squared. There we go. Okay, so yes, get a corner started so that it has something to hold on to, and then get your glue on the areas. I can cut off any glue that's being ugly on the outside afterwards. I think the most difficult thing with this project so far, number one, is it's large, so you're having a hard time seeing it. But number two is finding a way to measure it and make sure that it is in fact being straight, because that's a really big important thing to me. So the first shelf that we're going to add in, I'm going to make sure that it is 5 inches. Yeah, we'll go 5.25 inches. And the nice thing is with foam core, I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to use this little divot on the end, which is meant to hold on to a nail so that you can measure. I don't know if you knew that, but if you did. So I'm going to cheat and use my measurement. So I'm going to go 5.25, and then I'm just going to press that in so I see where the divot is on my foam core. I'm going to come back over here, 5.25, and I'm going to allow that to cheat and show me the exact spot. Same with on the side. I'm going to flip it over now because I want this square. I'm going to go 5.25 and 5.25. Okay, so now I have a very easy mark for where my shelf is going. This is going to be my front, so I'm going to make sure that I'm choosing the edge that has the prettiest cut to go on the front. So the back area I don't care as much about. So for me, I'm going to run it in on this side, and what is going to be the back, that's the lesser attractive side. And because I made those little divot marks, I know for a fact that my spot is lined up. And our first shelf is in. So that's our first shelf for what the paper is going to be. Now, later I'll be adding this other side, but this is the first shelf. Now I'm going to measure the next 5 inches away and do the same thing. So, yeah, that glues really nicely. I'm very happy with that. Alright, I'm gluing on the last. This is the bottom effectively. Ooh, I must be getting tired. I am getting messy with my glue gun. So I want this at the edges of all corners here. And then the top, same thing. And once I'm done with it, I'll take a good look on the outside and see which one looks the best and then choose that to be what I show. But I'm keeping mine plain white because I don't want it to really draw any more attention other than just to be white so it blends with my decor in here. But I really am, this is just a functional piece, not anything for decoration. But if I were using it for 8.5 by 11 scrapbook paper, I might want it to be something that's prettier so it inspires me to pull out my papers and do something fun. Alright, there is that section. It is sturdy as all get out, so I will be having this stand up and start putting my papers inside of it. But the last thing to do is put this section on. So again, if you want your papers to go long ways, then you could cut this down and store your papers the wide way, but I want it narrow, so I am putting my piece here. It's almost like a little shoebox, and by the way, you could absolutely use this for shoe boxes, dies, paper cutters. The thing I really like about foam core is you can use this for whatever works best for your needs. So far, I am totally tickled with myself that it's working, but let me know in the comments below what you think. Is this something that you would use for your heavier items? So far, I feel like it's super sturdy, but I will load it up and show you in just a few minutes. So I'm going to glue this on. You guys, I think this wins for the most excited I have been to show you something. I cannot wait to hear about the applications that you can use this for. You can make it deeper and put in your paper cutters. This doesn't have a whole lot of limitations other than I wouldn't recommend going more than 12 inches wide. This is plenty sturdy. I mean, I'm pushing pretty hard, and if you have one of these, you know it's got some weight to it. You can see that the shelf is absolutely handling the weight of that, no problem at all. I didn't make it for this to fit in there. I just got excited once I was done at the possibilities of what you can do with this. So I'm going to link the schematic below. Just follow that link and you can download it. Again, I did mine for the 8.5 by 11 paper to slide in this way because I'm putting it in a narrow spot. But oh my gosh, now that I've seen how this turned out, it was pretty easy. The only thing that I did was add a bead of glue gun underneath all of the shelves just to give it a little bit more strength. But I love it, I love it, I love it. So I genuinely am so excited about this idea. I am going to be making, over on my little spot here where you see this little white flower, I'm not utilizing that spot, but I still find that my desk is messy pretty often. As things come in, I kind of do that, ooh, I need to keep it out in the open, so I remember to do it, but I don't want it cluttering up my space. So I am going to be making another one to perfectly fit inside of my shelf space here, and I'm going to be making drawers to fit inside. So stay tuned, I'll be releasing that video on Sunday. In the meantime, thank you so much for your comments. They inspire me so much to seek out other ways to store things, to find other ways of organizing. So thank you so much for those. I also appreciate you subscribing. If you haven't and you're new to my channel, please click that subscribe button below and make sure to give it a like. And I will see you on Sunday.